Everyone is allowed to eat by that Brit Milah.
5. July.
Okay. Everyone is allowed to eat that by that Brit
So
Milah.
fast doesn't apply.
If Purim falls out on Sunday and we fast on Thursday, since it's not on the same time, on the same day, and the right time, we do it earlier, so we have additional leniencies, and this leniency includes that if there's Brit Milah, everyone is allowed to eat.
On a Thursday. Yes?
Yeah.
It will be falling out.
So there's no fast that year, basically. Meaning for your
For them.
congregation, right?
For
that
those
congregation.
Does that ever happen?
Brit Milah, yeah, of course, Brit Milah happens all the time.
On a Thursday like that, during a fast day?
Not
Well, the fast days
other
actually
Thursdays, only
Saturday.
Tiny Esther.
On the Tani Esther.
On Tiny Esther. If Purim comes out on Sunday and Tiny is on Thursday before, then if there's Brit Milah, anyone who's invited to that Brit Milah is allowed to eat.
I've never seen that happen. That happened?
I think I was by Brit Milah one time. Oh no, that was Tisha B'Av, right? No, I was never. It happens pretty rare that Purim was on Sunday and we have to fast. Although it was last year, I think. I think it was recently. It recently.
Last year, the year before, yeah.
Purim was on Sunday and we fasted on Thursday.
Yeah. And
So if there was a Brit Milah, people didn't have to fast.
This year the holidays are much later, right? Like Purim is mid-March, Passover is mid-April, right?
Yeah.
It's usually.
But it's always,
Pushing it.
for some reason, Tani Esther always falls out after we change the clock.
When did we change the clock? This Sunday.
Yeah. Why does that happen?
I remember one time Pesach. They didn't. Pesach was already here. They still didn't change the clock.
Oh.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
This year we have 2 Adars.
It depends.
Right?
Yeah.
So
For example,
next year is going to be really early, I think.
yeah.
Next year is going to be the earliest of 4 years. Every 4 years there's a cycle.
not necessarily
Right? This
so.
year is the longest, the latest into the Gregorian year. Next year is going to be the earliest into the Gregorian year. So we're going to have Passover like in March.
Earliest next year?
Yes, we're going to have. Well, yeah, think about it. This is the peak, and then it goes down. Because in 4 years we're at that peak again.
Like the stock market.
You understand how? Because it pushes the whole calendar forward, right?
Yeah.
So spring comes really early next year. Adar comes early.
Everything
Why?
has a cycle.
Why? No, I don't see that.
You don't see it?
Basically, the double order pushes
No,
everything
it doesn't
late.
come back early, it just comes back slowly, I think.
So you're saying 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and then 4 years again? Oh, and then 2 Adars.
Two Adars.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come back slowly.
So this past year that we just passed was the slowest, was the earliest that we had, and now it's the latest.
Now is the latest.
But the previous one was the earliest then.
The previous one was also late. No, the previous one was earliest.
Earliest.
Yes.
So earliest to latest. So it's not latest and then earliest. It's earliest and then
So
latest.
it's gonna be, so it's latest, now it's gonna be not so late, then not so late, not so late.
And then year 3
And then year
latest.
3 again, it's gonna come.
Come
later.
back up to the, Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It just pushes the months over.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we want to see the reason why we fast day before Purim, and the explanation is in Mishnah Berurah, where it says bet, which is seif bet, and Mishnah Berurah
It's
bet.
not this bad.
Yeah, exactly that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm just finding something from Michael.
Metainet Esther. Be'adar.
Yeah, what does it say over there? Mark, start reading.
Metainet Be'yud Gimel. Bet Yud.
B'yud Gimel
Gimel
Be'adar. Michael is
Be'adar.
B'yud.
Ki Be'mei.
Thank you.
Ki Be'mei Mordechai V'Esther.
Good.
Nikahala
Nikahalu.
B'yom Yud Gimel.
Nikahalu. They
Nikahalu.
gathered in the days of Mordechai and Esther. Everyone gathered, mobilized troops. B'yom Yud Gimel Be'adar leilachem ולעמוד על נפשם, to fight and to protect their lives, והיו צריכים לבקש רחמים, and they needed mercy from Hashem. ותחנונים, and they would supplicate to Hashem. שיעזרם Hashem לנקם אויביהם. That Hashem should help them take revenge from the enemies. ומצינו, and we find כשהיו ביום מלחמה, that Jews on the day of the battle, שהיו מתעניים, they would fast. שכן אמרו חכמים.
On the day of the battle?
On the day of the battle.
That sounds counterintuitive. You're weak.
Yes. Well, let's finish the paragraph and we'll discuss this. שמשה רבינו עליו השלום, it started with Moshe Rabbeinu. ביום שנלחם עם עמלק, on the day when he fought with Amalek, היה מתענה, he was fasting. How do we know that he was fasting? Because it says that he was weak, he would raise his hands and the Jews were victorious. If he lowered his hands, the Jews were losing. And it says that he could not hold his hands and there was a danger that Jews will lose the battle. So Yeshua and Hur held his hands high, held it in the air. Yeah. So it says like this. It says like this. Since Moshe Rabbeinu did it, גם בימי מרדכי היו מתענים באותו יום. Must be that during the time of Mordechai, they also would fast on that day. In other words, we know that Haman threw a lot to find out what is the most opportune time to start up with the Jews. And it fell onto Yud Gimel Adar. Shlosha Asar Yom Bo, on 13th day of Adar. And later, Achashverosh said that very day when the Jews, when the Goyim was supposed to kill the Jews had full permission to fight back. They got support from the king. And the enemies of the Jews, the anti-Semites, who originally already identified themselves, they mobilized themselves. They were easy target because everyone knew where they were. Mm-hmm. And the Jews, supported by the forces of the army of Hashverosh, killed them. So the Jews were victorious. And this happened on 14th of Adar.
He wasn't able to nullify the decree, right? That's true.
He wasn't able to nullify, correct. Beautiful. What graphics, I love. Oh, anyway, okay. Look at that.
Fancy.
You could watch.
Live on YouTube.
Nice.
You just get to see a preview of how good it looks.
Okay.
What about audio? You should connect the mic and then you're going to be
It's
set.
already connected.
No, to the rabbi.
So since we have now,
It's connected.
Gotcha.
since this is being recorded, we're going to announce that this shiur is Le'ilui Nishmat Zikeini, my grandfather, who was niftar today and buried today, Ephraim ben Devorah. Okay. ולכן נהגו כל ישראל להתענות בי"ג באדר. Therefore, all Jews fast on 13th of Adar, ונקרא תענית אסתר, and it's called תענית אסתר כדי לזכור, in order to remember שהשם יתברך רואה ושומע, to remember that Hashem sees and listens, כל איש, any man, בעת צרתו, at the time of his sorrow, at the time when he is in pain, כאשר יתענה וישוב אל השם, when he is going to fast and he's going to come back to Hashem, to tshuva, בכל לבבו, with all of his heart, כמו שעשה בימים ההם. Just like Hashem did in those days. In other words, our tefillah, our prayer reversed the decree and helped us. And what we emphasizing and reinforcing with this fast is that Hashem overturns the evil decree. He listens to our supplication. Even if right now we're in trouble, we're in pain, we don't see a way out, but prayer and tshuva will help. Will help. Very important, very powerful point where Chachamim are telling us, so to speak, a best remedy for all problems. You know, people very often today seek help from health professionals, seek help from powerful people, people of knowledge, whether it's wise people, whether people know law, whatever it is. Everyone wants to say, you know, as long as I have the right connections and I speak to the right people, everything's going to be good. But we know that all that is baloney. Hashem is the final decider for all these things. So you could do ishtadlus, in other words, do small little steps to help yourself out. But what you need to do is to learn how to tap into the main source and the main guy at the scene. If you have access to the main guy, what else do you need? Why do you go to the person who actually has power to make a difference? Everyone would agree that that would be the most effective way, right? So Chachamim teach us that what we have to do is turn to Hashem. And very often we think that we don't feel that who am I that Hashem should listen to me? Maybe Hashem will listen to be tzaddikim. But we have to understand that Hashem, if you're a Jewish person, Hashem views you as the only child He has. And even if you are not the only child, we know that there are some people that have a lot of children, right? How many is a lot?
Double digits.
4.
So let's say you have 4 is a lot. And there he has 4, so he says, I have a lot. Good. Let's say a person has 14. Let's say a person has 16. And then he has, let's say he has 15 and then he has 16th child. And I know people who have 16 people. And they're children. And they're not, nothing is too terrible.
Should not be a name.
Huh?
Easy. Easy for you to say. No,
What's the wife? What's the wife? No problem with the wife. Wife wanted it, obviously. It's the wife who wants it.
Number 2 helps with number 12. Number 3 helps with 15. Get it? It's a pochka, it's a chain. It gets easier actually after.
Nobody helps with nobody. You gotta take care of it.
But let me ask you this question. Let's say you already had, let's say 3 children. Let's say you had 13 children. And then one more. Can we say, or can you say, or can somebody who has a child say, that number 4 or number 15 or number 16 can be given up for adoption, can be disposed of, can be,
Of course not. It's as
can be just
important as number
discarded?
1.
The answer is no, right? We know that no mother would give up any of his children just because they are her children. And no matter how much she already has, each one is hers, and she's connected to each one of them. She gave birth to them. It's theirs. Hashem is like our mother. He gave birth to us. He created us. And He takes personal interest in each one of us. And He's not going to just say, oh, this guy, I could do without him. I'm not going to listen to him. If we're here, that means that Hashem wants us, something from us, and He listens to us, that helps us. So, and it's like another mashal. Baal Shem Tov says, what do people make a mistake? Imagine you have a father who is a billionaire. Let's say you're son of, let's say, Warren Buffett. And you are in college somewhere in the dorm, and you saw like a car, a car that you always had a dream to buy a car. Let's say it's a used car, but it's a nice one, and it's like, let's say it's $10,000. So you say, I want to buy this car. Where am I going to get money from? Oh, let me ask my father. So you you call your father, or whatever, you find his number, you call him. His secretary picks up, you say, I would like to speak to Mr. Buffett. Who are you? Oh, okay, no problem. Connects you right away. You're like, oh, thank you so much for picking up the phone and connecting me. I'd like to make an appointment with you. Come to talk to you. Okay, of course, come. You come in and you say, how are you doing? I'm so privileged that you actually listening to me, and you decided to take time from your busy schedule to...
This is a son talking to his
father.
Warren Buffett.
To actually meet with me. Who am I? I'm just a college kid, So the Warren Buffett like say, like, what is he talking about? This is my son. Tell me, what do you need? How can I help you? It's nothing. It's just that, I know I might be asking for a lot. I hope that you could fulfill this request. I just need $10,000 because I saw a car that I'd like to buy. So he says, son, what are you talking about? Take here, which car? I could buy 5 cars like that today, and 5 tomorrow. What's the problem? So that's what sometimes happens with us and Hashem. We're down into Hashem and we don't feel that He's listening to us, and we said somehow we have to strain ourselves to put all our kavanah so to feel that He is listening to us.
So we don't need to do that, you're saying?
No.
Make appointments.
No kavanah?
You don't have to. You just have to. The kavanah has to be
Sincerity.
As if you have to first believe. If you believe that He's talking to your father, Hashem is your father, and you're His son, then you talk differently. Then you are praying differently. And that's how we have to be like children. When it comes to davening to Hashem, we have to daven not like we're talking to a boss, someone who, a big billionaire who might give us or might not give us. No, He wants to give us and whatever we need, and He is our Father, and that's how we have to believe. That's emunah. And primarily, if we sometimes don't get what we want, we have to be happy that we actually have Father like that, and trust that Father keeps our prayers, our requests close to His heart, and He wants to fulfill it.
And He knows best also. Maybe it's not what you need now.
Maybe it's not what you need. Correct. And that's the attitude. That's what we have to work for. But it's not easy. What needs to be done is a whole avodah. There needs to be a certain restructuring of our beliefs and emunah. We need to work on our emunah. And number one is we have to see good in our lives. We have to see how Hashem actually fashioned our lives. We were down here, He raised us, He brought us up, how much He gave us, how much we do have, how much we are fortunate we are, how many benefits we have. So first we have to develop gratitude to Hashem. And after that we have to see that Hashem already, whatever we asked Hashem for, Hashem actually gave us. Certain things Hashem gave us. We wanted to get a job, we got a job. We wanted to had this house, we got this house. We wanted to get this, we got this. Whatever it is, each one in his own situation, whatever he asked of Hashem gave him a lot. And that needs to be recognized. And once a person does that slowly, he will get more. Hashem will give him more. Okay, so we fast because when we do tshuva, Hashem listens. We're reinforcing that concept. Now, when we said that if for Ta'anit Esther, someone who is in pain does not have to fast, that's only going on in a healthy person, otherwise healthy person, then if he is in pain, he doesn't have to fast. But someone who is pregnant or nursing, they don't have to fast, period, even if they're not feeling any pain.
Is this the most lenient fast?
Yeah, that's the most
Yeah.
fast. And the woman who gave birth for 30 days, she does not fast. According to Ashkenazi halacha and according to Sephardi halacha, for 2 years she doesn't fast. She gave birth.
So if my wife had a baby, she's good for 2 years.
Yeah.
For 2 purims. Not the other fast.
What about the other fast except for Purim and
Rabbi just holds other fast also.
except for Purim and Tisha
Tisha B'Av and Kippur.
Thank you.
Applies also?
No, it doesn't apply. Then this 2-year thing doesn't apply.
Yom Kippur.
Okay, next siman. Sif Tafrei Shpei Zayin. Dinei Chiyuv Kriyat Megillah. Our obligation to read the Megillah. Aleph. Chayav Adam lekrot Megillah b'layla v'lachzor u'l'shnota b'yom. A person must read Megillah at night and again read it during the day. Now, it says in Mishnah Berurah that we could only start reading Megillah after Tzedek Kochavim, after the 3 stars come out. And when we say that we could read it during the day, it's only from Netzach Hama, from the time when the disk of the sun comes up, but not from Alot HaShachar, the first ray of light. We know the first siman of the day is Alot HaShachar, is first ray of light. But we cannot read the Megillah from that moment. We have to wait till Netzach Hama, because people may make a mistake. They may think that it's already Alot HaShachar, but it's not, so Chachamim said, better wait until the sun comes up.
Wait, is this the morning reading already?
The morning reading.
The daytime reading.
That's what you read after you pray.
You pray, and then, in fact, inside the Shacharit.
You can't read and then pray, right?
Right.
You can't
No, you could do that if it's,
Depends on when you pray.
if you're praying a little later, it's already after Netzach Hama, is that when you want to read it. You could read it in the case for, let's say, for somebody, if you really need to read it early, if you're traveling, but normally a person should pray, and that's the right, because there is another concept. If you have 2 mitzvot, prayer and Megillah, both mitzvot are applicable. Which one do you do? Even if Megillah is
first.
Even though Megillah is very dear to you because it's once a year, you were waiting for it the whole year,
You do
and you
first.
pray every day. With Tadir Reina, Tadir Kodem, whatever you do earlier, take precedence. You do
More often.
more often.
Frequent.
What if someone doesn't pray usually?
You still pray more
Megillah is
Supposed to,
more often than Megillah, right? Megillah is once a year. It's applicable to all people every day, so it's.
I'm saying for people that don't pray every day and they want to do the Megillah thing. There are people like that. They come around once a year, twice a year,
Well, they should follow the majority of the shul,
and start davening more.
probably. Yeah.
Well, if a person doesn't pray and he only comes for Megillah, he'll probably come when they start Megillah anyway.
Yeah.
He's not going to come for prayer. So
But should he daven?
It's the result.
Does it resolve itself?
It resolves
Once
itself.
he's there, should he daven while they're doing Megillah, or is he supposed to
Of
listen?
course, should down, but again, it's up to him.
No, I'm saying
If he
it's a
doesn't-
guy.
He has
If a
bigger
guy,
problems than to worry.
if a guy comes to shul, for the Megillah, but he says davening, is he still yotze? He hears the words, but he's not following along. Like, how does that work?
Again, he comes from Megillah,
Right,
but
but he didn't daven, so he starts davening.
he starts down during the Megillah.
Does that work?
No, because he has to listen to Megillah. If he's davening, his mind is on prayer. He's saying other words. He's saying other. It's because Megillah Yotzeh Shomea Keoneh. It's like
Hearing
we are
or
reading.
listening?
It's like we're reading it. The Baal Koreh is reading it for us.
But is hearing it enough or listening? You have to listen to understand.
No, you have to listen.
To understand?
Listen as if you're reading it.
So you have to follow along.
And it says in the Gemara that you have to understand it. The Gemara asks the question, but let's say people don't speak Hebrew
Right?
and they don't understand every word. How are they Yotzeh?
Right?
So Gemara, if they understand the general concept, if they hear about Torah, if they hear other people talking about what happened, and they know what we're reading about, then they Yotzeh. So you see what? It's an interesting thing that you need to understand the story a little bit. Because the whole concept of the story is what? Pirsum ha-nes. Pirsum nisa. To publicize the miracle. And if no one understood anything, because no one here understood Hebrew, everyone walked in, sat through it, and walked out, then the whole mitzvah is defeated, the whole purpose of the mitzvah is defeated. So you have to, that's why you have to explain, the rabbi has to talk about it, we have to learn about it before, and so on. Okay. Now, it says like this. Why do we have to read during the day also? It's not so simple that you have to read during the day. It says in Mishnah Berurah, V'lachzor Siv Bet. V'lachzor v'lashnata b'yom. You have to read again Zecher l'nes to remind us of the miracle Shayu Tzoakim B'imei Tzaratam Yom V'lala. Since they were praying and supplicating and fasting day and night, so we have to read Megillah once during the day, once at night. What do you mean? It means that it's a continuous process. It's not one-time deal. It means that you have to pray and pray again. You have to beseech Hashem. You have to come back. Let's say someone doesn't answer you, if you need something really bad, you'll ask him again. And it's only because we repeat our prayers, because we're insistent, and that's a effective way to daven to Hashem. To daven all the time, daven again and again. That's why we read Megillah 2 times. To tell us that it's not enough one time. It's not like just, okay, I checked, I read it, that's it. No, it's like tefillah. Kriyat Megillah is like prayer. And you pray and then you pray again. And the question is, why do you have to pray to Hashem more than once? Why do you have to pray more than once?
A day, you're saying?
Yeah, why don't you pray 3 times a day? Why do you have to ask Him so many times? Why does Hashem say no sometimes to us? In fact, from the very beginning of Jewish history, this was the problem. Avram and Sarah did not have children, and Gemara asks the question, why didn't they have children?
Leah didn't have children.
Leah had children. Rachel didn't.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Rachel didn't have children, Rivka didn't have children, right? So what did Gemara say?
He wants the righteous to pray.
pray.
Yeah, Hashem wants the prayers of righteous. Meaning, He wants them to pray their whole life. He gave Avraham Avinu children when he was 100, right? 100.
99 he got bris.
99 he got bris, and 9 months later he got a baby. He was 100 years old. So his whole life he was praying. The answer is the most important and the most precious thing in the world is relationship with Hashem. Constantly turn to Hashem. Constantly have Hashem in your life. That's exactly what Hashem created the world, and that's exactly what is going to give us Olam Haba. So that's not. We can't just say, okay, check. I did my duty. Now I'm going to have my life. No. Tzaddikim, they don't mind having suffering because they going to be more closer to Hashem. We're going to be praying to Hashem all the time. And that's what's
So
most
we're supposed to
important.
thank Hashem for our suffering?
Yeah.
But aren't we getting suffering because we did something wrong, or?
There's 2 types. One, there's Isurim Shal Ahava, Isurim Shal Onesh. So sometimes it's a retribution for a sin. And sometimes there's no sin, it's just so that you will have
It's
a
an
relationship
opportunity
with
for you to get closer.
Hashem, to close to Hashem. So, as Tzaddikim, they have a Surim Shal. It says further, Mevatlin Talmud Torah Lishmo Mikra Megillah. We have to stop learning to hear Kriyat Megillah. Kal v'chomer l'shar mitzvot shel Torah shekulam nidachim lefnei Mikra Megillah. Kal v'chomer, all other mitzvot. In other words, if Talmud Torah, learning Torah, you stop for Kriyat Megillah, so similar and so much more so all other mitzvot. In other words, we're learning from here. The learning Torah is the highest mitzvah, highest occupation, the best thing you could do. And the question is, why do we have to stop and read Megillah if we're already doing a mitzvah? There's a concept: if you're osek b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. If you're doing a mitzvah, you don't have to do another mitzvah. But it doesn't apply to Kriyat Megillah.
So, like if you have to bury your family member, so you have to listen to the Megillah before.
No, Med Mitzvah takes precedence.
So is that the exception to the rule?
Yeah, there is one exception to the rule. The Mishnah Berurah is going to be discussing now what happened if you have a mitzvah to bury, like today, we're buried by grandfather. Let's say it would happen Purim morning.
Med Mitzvah takes precedence over everything.
Met mitzvah, yes. But but met mitzvah is
But
a
isn't it-
specific case where there's no one else to bury.
Exactly. There's no one else to bury him.
But let's say there's not met mitzvah, it's just a met. Just someone died. So it says like this. So it says like this. It says in the Shulchan Aruch, Chutz Memet mitzvah she'en lo kovrim.
Chutz is outside.
Chutz besides. Like you make that very well. If there is met mitzvah that no one is burying him, then you don't do Kriyat Megillah. Okay. And how do you do it? Po kovro v'achar kach koreh. You have to bury him and then read the Megillah. Okay. So, but Ramos says, "V'chol ze lo mayri ela b'diika shahud la'asot shtehen." That's only if it's possible to do both. You do met mitzvah and then you do Kriyat Megillah. Aval im efshar la'asotam shtehen. But if you cannot do both of them, then you do mitzvah. If you will not do mitzvah mid'oraita because you're reading the Megillah, you have to do that mitzvah.
The Mindoraita.
Da. And then it says, "V'had emet mitzvah kodem, davka b'di'ef shel l'kara achakach." That met mitzvah is before, is if it's possible for him to read later on. So Maramo is throwing a monkey wrench. She said, we said like this, that all mitzvot get pushed to the side if you're doing in the face of Kriyat Megillah. Ramo comes and says that's only if you could do both. Do Kriyat Megillah first and then the other mitzvah. But if you would not do the other mitzvah, then you don't do Kriyat Megillah.
Then you don't do Kriyat Megillah.
You don't do Kriyat Megillah. Because it's the Rabbanon. And other mitzvot deraita. Like for example, let's say Brit Milah. Brit Milah is also during the day. But let's say you could not get a mohel, you could not get the instruments until later during the day. And now you could either do Brit Milah or Kriyat Megillah. You have to do Brit Milah.
Okay, but Kriyat Megillah is time bound, or you could read the whole day.
The whole day.
The whole day.
But then it says that met mitzvah.
Even if you read the Megillah the night before, you still have a...
Yeah, it's a separate mitzvah. One mitzvah is the night before, separate mitzvah for the day. So, even if you read before, it has no bearing on the mitzvah during the
Can you
day.
say Shehianu, both evening and morning?
No, actually only once.
Why? Not twice.
Because it could possible to stretch that shechianu and attach it to the morning mitzvah. It goes for that mitzvah also. Even though it's a different mitzvah, but it goes for that mitzvah. So let's see the explanations here. It says like this. B'deika shahot. V'hu adin le'inyan mila u'megila. If there is brit milah and megillah, im ika shahot la'asot shtehen megillah kodem. If you have time to do both, you do kriyat megillah first. And the reason is because Pirsume Nisa. Because it's a mitzvah that has a nes in it. And nes is something that needs to be publicized to many people, and that makes this mitzvah so special. Now, practically speaking, what if there is a brit milah on the day of Purim? Do you do brit milah first or brit milah? And the minhag is to do brit milah first.
Like in the morning, right?
So you daven, then bris, and then
in the middle of davening you make brit, and then you make Megillah.
As opposed to normally reading Megillah in the middle of davening, right after Shemona Esrei, right?
Right. That's the minhag. Now, then Ramo says, Aval im efshar, but if it's possible, I'm sorry, but if it's impossible to do both of them, then mitzvah midaraita is first. Ratzal Omar she'yitbatel mitzvah de'araita legamri im lo ya'asena, if you won't be able to do mitzvah midaraita, if you don't do it now, and you'll do Megillah, then you don't do Megillah. ומה שכתב לקמי דין, אי אפשר לקרוא אחר כך, יקראנו קודם, עוד לא יתבטל לגמרי המצווה. Now, he says later that if it's impossible for you to do it, later you should read it first. So why would you read it first? The answer is you could still do the other mitzvah later. Like, for example, burying a person. Burying could be done during the day, could be done at night. So do the mitzvah Megillah during the day, and read the Megillah, and bury the person at night. And then if it wouldn't be possible for him to bury a person later, like, for example, government would not allow to bury someone at night. Like, for example, today in America, we cannot bury anybody after dark. You have to bury somebody, even if you want. It's mitzvah d'oraita, even if you will not read the Megillah.
Can I ask a question about the bris again? And the day before, during the fast. If the scenario plays out, the fast comes out on Thursday, and Purim is on Sunday. If it's not like the 8th day, right? If somebody never had a bris, can you schedule a bris for that day?
I hear what you're saying, a good idea, but the answer is no. It has to be bezmana. Brit milah bezmana means 8th day, that you must eat now.
Okay.
That's a good question. Okay. Now, we said about med mitzvah, that you do first, that's because you're able to read Megillah later. But if you can't read the Megillah later, no. We said that met mitzvah first is if you could read Megillah later, right? But if you can't read Megillah later, then you have to do Kriyat Megillah first. What's going on here?
Because it gives you enough time to read the Megillah, which takes half hour, and then you could do your Met Mitzvah.
Because since Met Mitzvah could be done at night, so take that half hour to read the Megillah, and even if it's going to be already at night, you could do it. Okay? So he says like this. This Ramah says only in the name of Rabbi Eliyahu Mizrahi. Aval kama achronim cholkim al zeh. But many other rabbis argue on this. It's only one opinion of Rabbi Eliyahu Mizrahi. And they hold, even in the situation that Megillah will not be read, met mitzvah is still first. because it's special, it's honor of the people, kavod abriya. But this is only if it's met mitzvah. If it's other mitim, then no. The other poskim hold that met mitzvah, that you do met mitzvah first, even if you will forget, you'll forgo Kriyat Megillah. That's only met mitzvah, but other mitim you do Megillah first and then you bury later. You do Megillah first and you bury later. So it seems that met mitzvah, even though when you bury somebody, it's also like met mitzvah. You are the only person who could bury him. You are the only person who could bury him. But at least since you are always there, he's always on your mind. You could bury him later also. But met mitzvah, he doesn't have a relative. It's mitzvah to bury him miyad, right away. Because maybe he will be neglected. Maybe he will not get buried right away. Buried later. Okay. It's 9?
9 o'clock.
Let's stop here. Chazak Baruch.